Alrighty then. Chapter 5 is alive. We have been enjoying listening and talking about the integumentary system. This is the last exam, the last lecture of this chapter. This chapter is very straightforward. There's no surprises. And our next chapter is going to start getting a little more technical. So I actually love talking about this stuff. It's fun to me. Every system has a story, and I feel like it's my job to relay each system's story to you and why, it's pretty cool. And to hopefully blow your mind of everything that's happening in your body at the same time that you're just not aware of and that we all just take for granted. Even skin, we would lose heat without it. We wouldn't be able to maintain body temperature, and it definitely has its perks. I laugh about growing old and the changes in my skin, but I welcome each change because it means that I've been alive and kind of not living right now in this pandemic because we're not really venturing too far from home. But we gotta change that and put ourselves out there a little bit more. Anyway, we are cranking through this PowerPoint, and we have a couple more interesting things to talk about. We have wound healing, skin cancer, and burns. So it's a short little lecture. I expect it to be. It's at the beginning. I don't know how long it is yet. But, let's get going, right? Because you're like, Laura, end this chapter. Put it to bed. We got another test to take. All right, wound healing. So wound healing it can either be superficial, only through the dermis, or a little bit deeper where we have to actually patch and repair. So if we have a superficial injury, maybe we've gotten down to the stratum basal layer, right? So these stratum basal cells, remember, they are always actively dividing, and they can just repair it. This is my paper cut. And they'll repair it and push out these new functional cells, okay? So it's going to be functional cells, meaning they'll sweat, they'll tan, they'll do everything. You won't have a scar. That is with a superficial wound, right? What's a scar? What is a scar? Right? A scar is a patch. It is a patch that contains non-functional cells, right? They don't tan, they don't have nerve endings, you can't sense anything. But it plugged up the hole. So of course it's important, but it's always a bummer if you're like, no, is that gonna scar? I think I really only care about that with acne scars, right? Because it's on your face and you'd like to not have too many if you can. Not everybody can afford to do all that, dermatology stuff. Okay. So I went back to this word because it's just the stratum basal cells because they're actively dividing, and I think I've already written that on a couple different cells. They will move to cover the wound until they touch other basal cells, until they're in contact with them, and then just push out new cells and build those layers back up. Deep wounds go deeper into the dermis and the hypodermis, and there is 4 stages to it. Do you guys hear my cat yelling at me? Sorry, guys. Fluffy, I'm up here. There's 4 phases. There's the inflammatory phase, phase 1. Migratory phase, phase 2. Proliferative phase is phase 3. And the maturation phase is phase 4. So phase 1, inflammatory, is like inflammation. What are the 4 cardinal signs of inflammation? Hold on, I gotta pause. All right, I'm back. So we had 4 phases. Gotta love a busy Sunday in the Skinner household. 4 phases to deep wound healing. And remember, deep wound means I went past the epidermis into the dermis and probably in the hypodermis. So the first phase, the inflammatory phase, I think I left you off before my quick little pause of what are the 4 hallmark signs of inflammation. Actually, now I think there's 5, but I don't like the 5th. I think it's stupid, so we're going to stick with the 4. So we have redness, heat, swelling, and pain. Okay, I think the 5th is immobilization, whatever. So redness is due to increased blood flow. So I have increased blood flow, which gets me redness, and it actually gets me heat. I have swelling because things become leakier. So I have increased blood flow, that's vasodilation, and then things being leakier means increased permeability. More stuff is able to exit my capillaries, which dumps out my white blood cells to help clean up the area, and get it ready for getting it back in order. All right, so that increased permeability is my swelling, and then of course pain is going to be due to I have damage, and I'm stimulating those pain receptors. Okay. Not winning today. So as a result of inflammation, let's go, there's a little picture here. I have increased permeability and more stuff is exiting white blood cells, red blood cells. Here's my dilated blood vessels. And I'm trying to clean it up. All right, then I have the migratory phase, and migratory phase are where I'm going, well, I guess with the inflammatory phase, I will also get a blood clot. So I will clot it up, right? It's just a fibrin. A blood clot is fibrin proteins, a fibrin mesh, and red blood cells. And these are all always hanging out in your blood plasma. So I get this blood clot. And then underneath this blood clot, I'm going to start having other cells, epithelial cells, move toward it. And unfortunately, I'm going to have these fibroblasts forming granulation tissue. So fibroblasts are kind of like scar cells. They're going to make scar tissue. Granulation tissue is scar tissue. It's non-functional. Okay, so granulation tissue, scar tissue, non-functional. But you know what? I got to patch. Here's my scar tissue. I've got to patch it because this is a breach, right? This is my skin is my first line of defense against any type of invading microbe. So it is imperative that I repair it. So it's against that, and it is keeping my fluids in. It's also preventing dehydration. So it's in my best interest. It's imperative that I repair this layer ASAP. Oops. Well, I guess I was talking about the maturation phase. I don't have pictures for the proliferative. Oh, look, I have inflammatory phase. And then I jump all the way to maturation phase. My bad. I don't know where the other 2 pictures are. That's messed up. Proliferative phase is where I just have continued repair of the cells that migrated, the fibroblasts and the epithelial cells. And then the maturation stage is where that scab ultimately gets pushed off, right? It kind of falls off unless you're a picker and you pick off scabs like I do and continuously pick them off until you have a scar. So those are my 4 phases. Inflammation. So inflammation is really 1, migratory is 2, it's all kind of happening together, and then proliferative, where the cells divide, is 3, And then the fourth one is the maturation, where everything underneath that scab is repaired one way or another. See, look, this put all nice functional epidermis and then a patch just in the dermal layer. You're not always that lucky, right? And that's one of their assignments, is post something about your skin that makes you you. Maybe it's a tattoo that you're proud of, or, birthmark or scar, right? I would show you the scar I got from my very special cat 20 years ago, but I don't think I'm posting my scar. It's only on my arm. It's not like it's inappropriate. All right, so yeah, only appropriate pictures, please. So that's my wound healing. Superficial versus deep. Superficial is just growth, right? It's kind of inflammation and proliferation, because they're going to have a lot of cells dividing, but it's only with the epidermis, and you'll build the new layers back up. A deep wound has the 4. That means I'm going in past the epidermis into the dermis and the hypodermis, and I've got a little more work to do, and hopefully it's not scar tissue. Development, I don't really care about. Aging, we've actually kind of talked about this already. I have wrinkles because my elastic fibers have crapped out. Gone. No elasticity. It happens. I'll take it. I wear them with pride. Dehydration and cracking, because my waxy layer and my oil glands aren't functioning as well. Not as good. So I'm going to crack. It's going to thin. Look, my sweat decreases. So I'm going to have harder time regulating body temperature. It is what it is, right? What's the alternative? Get me back body temperature. What else do I have? Oh, look, my melanocytes are crapping out. I'm going to have gray hair. I'm going to have wacky age spots, right? And I do. I thought I had skin cancer on my hand. I went to the doctors because I was freaking out. I have a basal cell carcinoma. And they go, oh, it's just an age spot. I'm like, oh, my bad. I am losing my subcutaneous adipose tissue, so I am going to be cold. I cannot insulate as well. Look at all that older people have going on. Every system, like this whole age-associated changes are with every system. I don't talk about them all, but every system. Hey, you just do what you got to do. And my nails are going to be more brittle and cracked, just because of all of this other stuff going on. Okay, that's aging. Accept it. We have skin cancer, and we kind of talked a little bit about it. We have a basal cell carcinoma, we have a squamous cell carcinoma, and we have a melanoma. Those are 3 main ones, and this is just a normal mole. Okay. So basal cell carcinoma originates in the stratum basal. That is where it originates. This is the most common. It's the slowest growing. It's the most curable just by cutting it out. Right? People might have scars on their body where they had a basal cell removed. Okay, remove it. I'll take a scar over having cancer. It's the least malignant. You're not typically going to die from a basal cell carcinoma. All right, a squamous cell. Squamous cell is the stratum spinosum. Remember, it could only happen in living cells, so it's the keratinocytes of that layer, typically in the scalp, ears, lips, and hands. It does metastasize. That means that it spreads. Okay, I only need 1 cell to enter into bloodstream. And can go anywhere and spread to somewhere else. So a little harder to treat. I'm going to remove it surgically, and I might even have some radiation therapy, but that's my squamous cell. It's a little scarier than a basal cell. Okay, a little scarier. I'm going to put that, but still treatable. good prognosis means that it's, treat it, take care of it, get your spots checked. Melanoma is the scary one, okay? This is the most dangerous. These melanocytes, and these melanocytes are slippery. They migrate everywhere. They travel. It's like they got a ticket to ride all over body. My husband's friend is struggling with a melanoma that went internal and just is attacking everything. He's got a lot of complications. It's a cat deciding to jump all over my top of my cabinets. All right, treated by. So highly metastatic. That means that it spreads easily. And, oh, great, it's resistant to chemotherapy, so it's hard to treat. Hard to treat. All right, treated by removing a very large patch. And there is this ABCDE rule. Is there a picture? Okay. What are you doing? Hey, tingling. I had a basal cell on eye. This person did. There's a squamous cell, a little scalier on the scalp. And then here is a melanoma. So A is asymmetry. It's going to have, it's not going to be round. It's not going to be symmetrical. B is for borders. This is the ABCDE rule. So A is asymmetry. B is borders are irregular. C is color. So it might have different kind of areas of color. Color might differ. Might have a lighter brown, a darker brown. It's the melanocyte, contains several different colors. D is diameter. So they go by the pencil eraser thickness. So kind of that's your thing to judge it by, if it's larger than a pencil eraser. I think it's 5 or 6 millimeters. Get it checked out. Is that what it says? Yeah, 6 millimeters. E. E has 2 different words. I have it as elevation. Is it raised? See, this one it's raised. But the new E is evolving. So I don't even know, what do they say about evolving? Evolving? I guess evolve. Is it changing over time? You can pick whatever E you want. They're both right. The old days, I guess 10 years ago, E was elevation, and in the more recent past of 1 to 2 years ago, the E is evolving. So this is my melanoma. These are my ABCDE rule for, is it a mole? Could it be a melanoma, right? Keep an eye out for these really darker growths on your body. Well, that one's pretty sizable because look at this. This is this person's, where's my pen? This is this person's ear. I mean, so this is quite a blotch next to his ear. All right. So that's my skin cancers. What we have left are burns. So a burn, we have 3 different types of burns, a 1st degree, a 2nd degree, a 3rd degree. And they involve different parts of the skin. And why do you get a burn? I gave myself a chemical burn. That's a long, crazy, funny story. I'm not going to tell you how stupid I am. Taping a cotton ball of bleach onto a poison parsnip blister. But you could have it due because of fire or electricity, radioactivity, or like me, corrosive chemicals like bleach. Bleach will kill your skin if it's full strength taped on your leg. Yeah, I have a nice scar from that. It's all good. And what's the big deal? Well, if you have a burn, it's a damage in your skin. It's a breach in the barrier. So there's 2 major concerns. There's a major concern of dehydration because fluid can go out, and it will go out because as your body is inside is more watery than the outside substance. and will lead to kidney shutdown. And obviously, what is this? Circulatory shock. Are you kidding me? Cardiovascular shock. I want to throw up right now. So that's the immediate threat. And then the other one is infection, because you've lost that barrier. I don't know why that's not on here. Okay, so first degree. First degree burn is your sunburn. It's only your epidermis, localized redness, a little swelling, and some pain. So this is like your sunburn. I know there's a picture. All right, so here is my, there's my pen. This is what happens to me. I get a little sunburn, first degree burn, and it's only the epidermis. Oh, this is a cool slide. Second degree, it's going to be epidermis and upper dermis, so that papillary layer, right? Remember we had papillary layer and reticular layer, so the papillary. And what do you have? Localized redness as well. Inflammation, redness, pain, heat. And you have blisters, okay? So you also have edema, swelling, pain, redness, and then, of course, you get blisters. And this poor little buddy looks like my son did when he grabbed the exhaust on the lawnmower when he was getting off of it, riding it with my husband when he was a little kid. Had these horrific blisters on his hand, and that happened. So it goes into the epidermis and into the dermis. So they're saying not even just the upper layer, they're any layer of the epidermis. Full thickness is a third degree burn, and third degree burn is the entire, so it's epidermis, dermis, and the hypodermis. This guy makes my stomach turn, I'll be honest. And skin is gray, white, cherry, or blackened, but it's not painful. Not painful because you have destroyed all those nerve endings. And it is going to need some grafting. So it's full thickness, it's discolored greatly, and it's not painful, because there's no nerve endings in that immediate area through the epidermis, dermis, and the hypodermis subcutaneous layer. So I have this person with the first degree and a second degree burn because he's got some blisters on this part of his hand, and then the third degree burn. Oh, I gotta move on. Of course, third degree, you want to worry about dehydration and infection, right? So what do they do with a burn patient? Put them on fluids and antibiotics. So we want to know to determine, are they critical? When are burns critical? So in order to determine when burns are critical, here we go. It's critical. We'll go back to the other one. If 25% of the body has second degree burns, it's critical if more than 10% of the body has a third degree burn, or face, hands, feet have third degree burns. And I think even if the genitalia have third degree burns. I don't know why that's not on here. Treatment, I got to remove the burned skin, get them on antibiotics and fluids, of course. Temporary covering and skin grafts. So how do I determine these percentages? I just want to see this. Okay. These percentages are associated with giving the body certain percentages. So the anterior, so the front of the head is 4.5. The back of the head is 4.5. So that would mean the whole head itself is 9%, 18 in a child. The trunk. All right, so let's go with the arms. 4.5 for the front, 4.5 for the back. So each one is 9, front and back. And that's what this is saying. Arms and shoulders and hands, 18%. Oh, whoops, that included the hands. The trunk is 18%, so 36% if it's the front and back. Perineum, 1%, but, you know, that's all in the pelvic area. 9% for the front, 9% for the back. So 9% each front, 18. So anterior and posterior. Oh, they're saying 18. All right, I feel like their numbers got a little wacky. Anterior and posterior, thighs, legs, and feet, 36%. All right, so each front is, how can that be? Oh, 9 for this whole front, 9 for this whole front would be 18 for the front, and then 18 for the back, and that would be 36, and that give me 100%. So if you're trying to estimate how much of their body has 10% burns, these are the standard numbers that critical you would use to estimate. You just, it's just an estimate, but that's where these numbers come from, and it's critical if you're meeting this criteria. All right, so if I have burns, overall, systemic means what's happening in my whole body, body-wide. Body-wide, I am losing fluids, large loss of water, plasma, and plasma proteins. Fluids, so that can lead to shock. Oops. Cardiovascular shock. I can have an infection because there is no barrier. Because I'm losing fluid, I'm going to have a decreased circulation of blood, and obviously have no urine, and my immune response is going to be pretty crappy. Ugh. I said ugh because this picture is gross. If you have a family member who is bedridden, what happens? These are pressure ulcers. If they're bedridden and they're not able, maybe they're paralyzed or they're bedridden and for whatever reason, they're not moving. You're not moving position, not changing position, and you or whoever's taking care of that person is not moving them around. When they're in one position for a whole long time, they get, so certain body parts are just kind of pressure points. They will shed this and ultimately wear holes in their skin and get these pressure ulcers, which just look so painful. Boy, I hate to end on that, but I guess I am ending on that one. So let's, oops. Wow, I talked a lot longer than I thought I'd talk. I'm trying to exit out. Click to exit, yeah. Nope. Oh, I'm trying to, what I'd like to do is just, can you see I've been loading my lectures? Oops. I have to add them. I want to go to the Wiley Plus, oops, which I just did, and go to those chapter learning objectives and make sure that I feel our time together today. Well, I did all these today. Hopefully you didn't look at them all today. They're not that interesting. Are covered. So let's see. Tissue types of the epidermis and dermis. The layers, the cell types of the epidermis. Okay. Skin color. Sweat glands, oil glands. How are they different in their secretions, in their location, how they get their secretion to the surface of the skin. Parts of a hair follicle, parts of the hair itself. Hair color comes from melanocytes until they crep out, and then you have gray hair and are old than me. Describe homeostasis. What? I gotta delete that one. Makes no sense. Structure of nails. Those parts of the nail. The functions of skin, superficial, deep wound repair. The 3 different main types of skin cancer and burns. I think we did pretty good. And I'm trying to find the end. So, guys, that's chapter 5 in a nutshell. Straightforward. Oh, here, I'll go big. I'm just chatting to you. I hope you enjoyed this chapter. I'll see you later. Bye.